Hey, Seattle hockey fans, Ayala coming to you live from the Kraken Community Iceplex. We just had day one of training camp. Rookie camp happened earlier this week. I'm going to give you some of my takeaways, even though it's still early, but we did get some contract talk, or at least updates on contract talk with Jordan Eberle. All that and more on today's episode of Locked On Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are the Seattle Kraken.
Hey, Seattle hockey fans, welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken. I'm your host, Ayala. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken is brought to you by Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jace case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jacemedical.com. That's Jase medical.com. And some of you will recognize this background. That's because I am right by the team store here at the Kraken Community Iceplex, overlooking the second rink here. We've got some adult league skating out there right now. But I'm excited to be back in Seattle. I'm excited to be here for training camp. And what have I been saying for the last few weeks? I feel like for the last few months, this is going to be one of the most competitive training camps that we have ever seen for this very young, mind you, franchise. And that's because it has to be. Make our first playoff run last year, have a taste of what that's like, get so close to playing Vegas, as Jordan Eberle said, and you want to replicate that. And what I've been hearing in day one of training camp, whether it's from veterans or catching up with the amazing Seattle Kraken beat reporters, is that it's a reminder. Piper Shaw and I were talking about it, that this team last year, and Kate Shefty actually asked it in the scrum, but this team, they were so inspired, empowered. They came out of training camp so confident last year. And when everyone had them nowhere near a 100-point team, they knew they had that within them. And they felt that the foundations came from training camp. So I alluded to some of it. And yes, we will be talking Jordan Eberle. But we heard from Matty Beniers. We heard from Eberle. We heard from McCann. We also got some updates on Andre Burakovsky. We got to talk to him in the locker room. I personally got to speak to Joey Decord. And if you are a part of our Subtext community, you will get a link to that audio. But here are some of the things that I noticed. First of all, you've got about 60 guys. Again, if you're a part of the Subtext community, you already saw this because I messaged you, but we've got our training camp roster. Got it right here. You can't read that especially if you're listening on audio, but hi to the YouTube fans. A lot of names, obviously, that we recognize. Luke Henman, Hayden, I thought looked really great skating. Max McCormick. Then you've got some newcomers as well that we've gotten through the draft or otherwise. Good to see, again, Burakovsky out there. So it's going to be competitive. It's going to be competitive because we need a high compete level. It's going to be competitive because some of these guys are competing for spots, for roster spots, not just on this NHL roster, but there are going to be implications, of course, for the Coachella Valley Firebirds as well. So we know it's going to be competitive. We know it's going to be a good time. What else did I like from training camp? I think that goaltending is going to be critical. As a matter of fact, let me go back to my roster. Let's just let you know who the goaltenders are. We've got Jackson Castor, going to be wearing number 40 throughout training camp. Joey Decord, who I mentioned I spoke to today, number 35, of course. Chris Drieger. I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but you know who did bend his ear for a little while, Nick Olczyk. So I'm going to have to see what Nick and Chris talked about. But another player coming back from a pretty significant injury, Philip Grubauer. We did see Philip Grubauer in net in the scrimmage. 2 quick shots up on him, went high above the glove side. So we're going to have to see there. Jack LaFontaine, saw a little bit from him, not too much, not enough to make an opinion one way or another, but I did say I'm looking forward to what LaFontaine can do. He was signed officially with the Coachella Valley Firebirds. Tyler Palmer and Ailes Stetska as well. So goaltending going to be really interesting. And remember that if you want to have access to my conversation with Joey Decord, check out the Subtext community. It's up there on the screen. You can also check out the show notes. But basically, this is your access to insider coverage of Locked On Kraken. All you have to do is text to the number on the screen. That's 918-731-3154. Or you can use the link in the show notes. But you'll get a 14-day free trial, so you can check it out. You can see what our daily digest from Locked On Kraken is all about. And every month I'll be doing an Ask Me Anything, which we will do during training camp and preseason. So stay tuned for that. But all right, so that's just a really quick recap of training camp. Another thing that was really cool is to see some fans and the media members. I alluded to it a little bit, but I really love being on this beat. Some really great people. We're seeing, the coverage expand a little bit. So it's a little tighter in the scrums, but I love it. I love coming out here. I love being a part of this media corps. And you're going to hear from some of those media members as well throughout the next week and a half on the podcast. So as you can see, I'm parked here at Kraken Community Iceplex if you're watching on YouTube, and probably do some other video style stand-up hits. I've got my handy dandy tripod here so we can get some guests on to join me, and so we're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be a good time. You're gonna get a lot of hashtag content, not just from Locked On Kraken, Emerald City Hockey, Sound of Hockey, Davy Jones locker room, of course, the Seattle Times. I'm hoping to put out some stories for CBS Sports, so it's going to be a really good time. We're back. We got they had a Matty Beniers Rookie of the Year poster. They were giving out a big schedule poster. It's massive. And a few other really fun things. Of course, Starbucks always giving away some fun stuff here. So if you're in the area, we will be here tomorrow. There's 2 sessions. So you've got the first session around 9:40, I believe it is. And then there's a second session. And after each session, just a scrimmage. And that goes back to what we also heard from Dave Haxtell. He was wearing cross-training shoes, blue cross-training shoes. I know some of you are really into that. No suit, no tie, straight off the ice. So in, training gear. But everyone's saying not too focused on goals. It's day 1. The focus has been competitiveness, as Jared McCann said, getting that compete level high, opening up the lungs, making sure that there are people, whether they're going to be with the Seattle Kraken at the start of the season, towards the end of the season, or anywhere in between, that they know that their first assignment is to come with it. Bring it. Let's have this be the most competitive training camp ever for the Seattle Kraken. All right. But there was a little business discussed. And if you listen to the podcast, if you're an everydayer or an OGer, you know that, I guess, a couple of weeks ago now, started breaking down who we think should be captains. That's ongoing. But as part of that, and as part of a random trade rumor that, again, had some fault, because Jordan Eberle, decidedly not a defenseman for the Seattle Kraken, as the article suggested. But if we could look beyond that, there were some interesting nuggets. No, I do not think we should trade Jordan Eberle, but where he is with his contract and how that will have implications long term, I did think was interesting. And so Eberle was asked today about his contract negotiations and contract extension potentially. So coming up next on Locked On Kraken, I'm going to take you to the media scrum and you can hear what Eberle had to say himself. That's coming up on this episode of Locked On Kraken. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by AG1. Now, I tell you all the time, I'm someone who's on the road, getting a regular routine, getting the nutrition that I need to make sure I can go to all these practices, do the interviews, do the podcast, do all the things that I have going on. It is a full-time job in and of itself. And instead of having to carry a bunch of supplements or have to spend an arm and a leg to get all of the good fuel that I need, all I have to do is take 1 scoop of AG1, 8 ounces of water, shake that sucker up, and I am good to go. And what I love is that with just that 1 scoop, I am getting 75 high-quality ingredients that give me key daily nutrients to support energy, focus, strength, and clarity. Everything that I'm going to need to cover the most competitive training camp ever in Seattle Kraken hockey history. So, this is what you need to know about AG1. It takes all of the guesswork out of it. You don't have to go run down your favorite supplements. You don't have to worry about it because for the price of your Java habit a day, you can get everything that you need and you can stay healthy. Probiotics, adaptogens, all the good stuff. So if a comprehensive solution is what you need for your supplement routine, then try AG1 and you will get a free 1-year supply of the vitamin D little droplet and my favorite, the travel packs. I'm out of travel packs. I need more. The travel packs will come with your first purchase. So that's 5 travel packs, 1-year supply of the immunity boosting vitamin D, and all that you can get by heading to drinkag1.com/NHL network. That's drinkag1.com/NHL network. Go check it out. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken. Ayala here, your host, coming to you live from Kraken Community Iceplex, just outside of the team store. Oh, yeah, best believe I took a look at what's happening there. And also, I told you that they're going to be celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month here at Kraken Community Iceplex. So on September 30th, if you want to skate with me and the rest of the community members, come out to the Kraken Community Iceplex on September 30th. But again, if you are a member of the Subtext community, not only do I plan to do a little skate, yes, I can skate. Can I play hockey and skate? That's to be determined. But I can definitely skate. So if you want to skate with me and some other people out here for Hispanic Heritage Month, come here, Kraken Community Iceplex on September 30th. The Subtext community, you'll get more information on that, as well as on Sunday, I am definitely going to be locked and loaded watching the WNBA semifinals. The New York Liberty and the Connecticut Sun are playing, so a former Seattle superstar, Brianna Stewart, will be playing in that game. And then, of course, you have the Dallas Wings and the Las Vegas Aces. Both are afternoon games Eastern time, so that means they're pretty early here in the Pacific. But I'm hoping to head over to Rough and Tumble. And so another opportunity for you, if you want to join Subtext, you want to know when I'm in certain areas, what I'm doing, how I'm catching up on sports, follow us on Subtext. Again, you can check out the show notes. I'll put this up for those watching on YouTube. The number to text, 918-731-3154. 14-day free trial. After that, less than $5 a month to get your Kraken insider info and text directly with me. All right, without further ado, Eberle talked about a lot of great stuff, including getting on the right foot when it comes to compete level. But you know what I think is also getting on the right foot is a contract extension for our guy Eberle. Eberle and Beniers connected for one of the first goals in the scrimmage, the early scrimmage today. Love seeing Beniers and Eberle back at it. Give you some line combos and the like. Again, Subtext, you get it there first, but we'll also talk about it here on the podcast. But Eberle asked about contract extensions. Has he talked to Ron Francis about that? Is he open to having those conversations in the middle of the season? Does he want to stay in Seattle? he talked about that. And I'm going to play you a little bit of a clip. But remember, you can also find these on the Locked on Kraken YouTube page. Without further ado, here's Jordan Eberle on his thoughts on talking contract.
What's your philosophy on that?
No, I mean, we haven't spoken much. I think Ron knows my stance as far as, my family and I, my wife, my kids. We love it here. I mean, this is, one of the more favorite places I've played. I think the group or the city from day one has kind of accepted this team, and we've kind of made it a home. So, I want to be a part of a winning team and have a chance to win a cup. And I know, obviously, this team, like many teams in the NHL, we have a chance here. We have a great group, and I know I want to be a part of it. So I'm sure once the season goes, there'll be a better understanding of where it's going to be at.
So you're not opposed to in-season discussions going on?
No, not at all. I mean, I know Ron's got a busy job with getting guys done, but I think, like I said, I've made my stance clear as far as I love it here. I want to be here, and I want to be a part of a winning group, and I think we have that here.
So Eberle talking about how, although he hasn't had explicit conversations with Ron Francis, he believes that Ronnie Francis and the team know that he loves being in Seattle, one of the best places he's played, that his family loves being in Seattle, that they were embraced from day one. And he also said that it's important for him that he be on a team that can be a competitor, and that Seattle is one of those teams. I mean, to me, it sounds like Eberle wants to stay here. And if he's going to stay, you know what I'm going to say. He might as well be the captain. I know. A lot of you want Yanni Gourde to be the captain. I'm not against it. A lot of people saying maybe we don't even get a captain this year because we're going to wait on Matty B. Matty B also looked pretty good today in training camp. Very noticeable. Eberle noticeable. Schultz, noticeable. Beniers, of course. I liked what Ty Nelson was giving. So we're not going to get into the captaincy conversation, at least not on this episode of Locked on Kraken. But coming up, I told some of my Subtext subscribers, and by some, I mean all of them, all the Subtext subscribers already know that there's a connection between the PWHL, the women's hockey team in Ottawa, and your Coachella Valley Firebirds. We also got some signings. That's coming up on this episode of Locked on Kraken. This episode of Locked on Kraken is brought to you by Bird Dogs. And you can't see what I'm wearing other than this great red peacoat. But I'm not wearing my Bird Dogs today. And that's not because I didn't want to. It's just because the only Bird Dogs that I have clean right now are the shorts. And I'm not going to wear shorts to the ice rink. But if I did, they'd be my Bird Dog shorts. The pockets are great. I actually have the pants, and there's a perfect pocket to slide the cell phone in. That might not be important to everyone, but it is very important to me. When I want to put this thing away, especially being at an ice rink, I don't want it to get too cold. I slide it right into that side pocket. It's not the super deep pocket that's your usual regular pocket, but it's just a little off to the side, but right in the front. Perfectly fits my cell phone. Love that pocket. But Bird Dogs are amazing because they are very form-fitting. I am a person, I mentioned this before, thicker thighs, kind of built like a hockey player or a baseball player in that way. And sometimes you can't get something that fits you in the waist and it fits you in the thighs. Bird Dogs, they are up to the task. I don't necessarily need the kind of built-in little shorts or whatever, but I do find them pretty convenient because you know why? I'm always worried about, for all intents and purposes, just making sure everything is flush. And when you've got the built-in pants, you don't have to worry about, any lines that you don't want showing to show. So I was a slow converter to Bird Dogs, but now I can tell you that I completely understand the tagline, you won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. I completely understand it. Slow to the Bird Dogs like Kool-Aid drinking society, but firmly there now. Have the shorts, love wearing those when I'm not at an ice rink, but the pants are also fantastic. And again, that cell phone pocket, chef's kiss. So we want you to head over to birddogs.com and your new free gift for September is going to be a water bottle. Mine's back in Tulsa. Don't have it with me now, but I've got the tumbler. They gave us a hat last month. It's going to be a water bottle for September. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL, or you can head to birddogs.com and enter promo code LockedOnNHL at checkout. That's going to get you that free water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL for a free water bottle at checkout. You absolutely won't want to take your bird dogs off. All right, we are here at Kraken Community Iceplex. As you can hear, it is buzzing here. Hockey is back, folks. Not just Seattle Kraken hockey, but hockey all throughout the Pacific Northwest. And that does mean that the Coachella Valley Firebirds have also converged right here at Kraken Community Iceplex. Now, if you are a subscriber to Subtext, you already know this, but the one and only Jessica Campbell, friend of the show, actually was involved in the draft that I attended in Toronto remotely. She was not at the draft because she was here for rookie camp, but she helped to do some of the scouting for the PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League Ottawa team. Michael Hirschfeld is the general manager there, and at the draft, he talked about some of the staff that was helping him to assess and analyze and kind of get the draft in order. And one of the people that he mentioned, and he had nothing but rave reviews, was the one and only assistant coach of our Coachella Valley Firebirds, Jessica Campbell. Am I surprised that Jessica Campbell was involved? Absolutely not. She's a rock star, making a name for herself at all avenues of hockey. And Hirschfeld had talked to us before about how he had some people helping prior to the draft, and it wasn't quite sure if those were going to be full-time roles. So, I had to follow up with him once he said Jessica Campbell was involved, and he himself said, we don't know what that looks like. We know that she's working with the Coachella Valley Firebirds. She's at Seattle Kraken training camp right now. We would love to work with her, but we also know that she's a rising star and will be an NHL coach one day. Yes, that's what other people are saying about Jessica Campbell. And we cannot be surprised. If you are an everyday listener, if you listen to Locked on Kraken, again, you know that we've had her on the show. I told you when she was hired that I really like her philosophy. I was able to ask her questions in her introductory press conference and how she thinks about development. Because remember, she used to be an independent trainer and a coach of NHL players as they were getting prepared in the offseason. So she knows what it takes to do that in a one-on-one setting. She herself has represented Hockey Canada at the highest stages of the women's game. She's worked with elite athletes, men's side, women's side, international. She's got it all. She's got a full picture of what's happening, what trends are happening in hockey, youth level, women's, men's, NHL, AHL. She puts it together very, very well. Dan Bilesma, Jessica Campbell, highly excited about, and they come highly recommended from all avenues of hockey. So to hear that she was involved with the PWHL Ottawa, who I do think had one of the stronger philosophies when it came to drafting, not surprised. And I'm hopeful that we can have Jessica Campbell join us again on Locked on Kraken. Last time we talked to her, she was at training camp and she was reporting live from the locker room. There is a locker room specific for women coaches. I'm going to say that again. There's a locker room specific for women coaches that was built as part of Kraken Community Iceplex, not added on, not like an extra closet that they done slapped like women coaches locker. No, there's an entire locker room for women coaches. And I loved what Jessica told us is that for her, that was an indication of that we are expecting women. This is not like a cosmetic hire. This is not something, this is something that we're preparing for, because women in coaching is the future. Women in hockey, the future. I loved that. So I don't know if we're going to get to interview her in the women coaches locker room, because, I mean, not for nothing, I'm not a coach, but I am a woman. So I feel like, that might get me some insight there. I don't know if we'll get to go into that coach's room, but I hope we do get to talk to Jessica Campbell while she's here. Dan Bilesma also here, a full staff here. And we, of course, have some players that will more than likely be at Coachella Valley this year, but who they are, where does Ty Cartier go? What about Riker Evans or even Shane Wright? Well, that's why I'm here live in the flesh at Kraken training camp. It's going to be one of the most competitive training camps in franchise history. And there's a lot between the Eberle extension, maybe a Beniers extension in another year or so. There's a lot that Seattle has to do right in the early part of this season, because if they're not on track to do at minimum what they did last year, then the trade deadline, folks, is going to be really interesting. And some of that is predicated on our fourth line. So on tomorrow's episode, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But before we close out, as promised, we got some news about some signings for Coachella Valley. So let's talk about that. The Coachella Valley Firebirds, they signed another forward into the mix. This came just earlier this week. Yesterday, as a matter of fact. Today is Thursday, yes. I don't even know. I don't even know what time it is, at least for my body. I know what time it is local. But anyway, the Firebirds add forward Patrick Curry. Patrick Curry skated 64 games in the AHL for the Iowa Wild, the, as you probably guessed, Minnesota Wild affiliate. He's a native of Illinois. Played 2 seasons with the Grand Rapids Griffins, and he also played for the Toledo Walleye in the ECHL. He played at BU, Boston University. That's Hockey East, baby. And speaking of Hockey East, won a championship, Hockey East championship in 2017-18. He was named the Hockey East Best Defensive Forward in 2019-2020. You know, I had to put that stat in. The best defensive forward. I love that. I freaking love that so much. So he is signed with the Coachella Valley Firebirds. Don't remember seeing his name on the roster. Don't remember seeing his name on the roster for training camp, but definitely someone that I will be looking out for as we follow the Coachella Valley Firebirds. We usually do little Firebirds on Friday, but I know it's been a weird week. I've been traveling. I've been everywhere from literally Toronto to New York to the Pacific Northwest. So bear with me, but we are back on track 5 days a week right here on Locked On Kraken. And remember that we have just started with Subtext, and it's a really great opportunity for you to hear directly from me. So if you want to join the Subtext community, you can text on your mobile device 918-731-3154. You get a 14-day free trial from whenever you sign up. So 918-731-3154. You can get messages from me as I'm here at training camp, but you can also send me messages. And I will be wearing my bird dog's pants tomorrow, so I'll have my phone handy. And you can just let me know. Do you have specific questions? I can let you, and I can respond to you directly, not to everyone. So another thing I'll be using Subtext for is for the Hispanic Heritage Skate on September 30th, as well as when I go to Rough and Tumble to watch WNBA playoffs. All of that you'll find. You can also find it here, little nuggets here and there on social, but the way you can get it directly to your mobile device is to join the Subtext community. That's going to do. You know what we always say, be kind to yourself, be kind to each other, and hold fast, stay true, and let's go Kraken. I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.